I'm gonna make a Chelsea boot with the knife. And here's the knife. Where is it? Right here. Look. So this is gonna be an out the front boot knife, and I'm using Horween Color 8 leather. All right, it makes it a little easier that we have a boot plant here in Maine, and we got to throw this on the cutting table. That's the first step. So this whole project should go pretty smoothly, but you don't know what you don't know. So we're gonna place the different components on this leather for a pair of 14s, because I need to test this thing out myself first. That's my size. A Chelsea boot is a simple style. There's I don't know, 1, 2, 3, really 3 pieces of leather make the upper, and then you've got to line it, then you have some elastic, etc., etc. But it's a really simple, really classy style. So gonna really be a James Bond level boot. All right, so here's the kit. Here's the elasticated sides. We're gonna stitch this up, easy part, and figure this out, hard part. The thing with the foot is it's asymmetrical, right? So I need to find the center line so that when the knife comes out, it's centered or feels centered on the boot, right? If it's a little bit off, it's gonna look funny. So I'm just imagining the center line from the tip of the boot, the tip of the toe, right, to the heel. And that's what I'm thinking looks pretty good there. So now I wanna trace and cut this out. I need to cut just inside the line. Let's cross cut it. Nice, snaps right into place. So you can see it's flush with the top there. Pretty easy to take these apart. It's just 4 screws and then it pops apart. You have a mechanism with 2 springs in here. There's 2 little levers that hold the knife in or out. And I'm gonna take this tab out so I can trace it. I want it to be perfecto. It's all the same size to take everything apart, so it's no factor. Just gonna unscrew that. And there's the tab. So now I can take this and I cut this piece of tread out, and I'm gonna trace it onto the tread, and then I'm gonna adhere the 2. The tread will stick out just enough out of the boot to be able to step and pull and push to bring the knife out or in, and then hopefully not too much that when you're walking, it comes out and you stab yourself. All right, we just applied this material right here, and this is gonna help. Once it's formed, it keeps its shape, almost like you're sculpting the boot. And you can see with the heat how nice that looks with the waxes and oils. All right, here we go. So the mechanism is gonna come out through the vegetable tan. So the knife blade comes out in between the veg tan, which means this bottom part will get recessed into the rubber sole and it'll hold everything in place. But I don't need to cut all the way through the tip here because no knife is gonna go through the actual leather. It just comes through the veg tan, if you see right there, right? Once that's lined up, there's no need to cut all the way through the rubber. Just need to make a recess inside this, again, to hold everything in place. All right, to get that cavity, I would probably just need a little handheld router, but I don't have one, and I don't feel like going and grabbing one, so next best thing, we're gonna use the old Bridgeport milling machine to cut that slot we need. All right, the milling machine didn't work, so we tried to split the rubber. That didn't work either. What we're gonna do is split it and then cut this out and glue it together onto plan C, which I'm not sure what plan C is. All right, so plan C was still used the splitter, but cut the sole in 2 pieces. And now we're gonna run it through and see. All right, pretty smooth. And so I cut this out of bevel, so once it's on the boot and you put the heel back on, you'll never know. All right, so that worked phenomenally well. So we have 2 pieces now of rubber, and once this goes back to the heel, everything will be complete. But this is going to allow me to cut this into it, right? Now imagine the boot being upside down right here, right? So this is the bottom of the boot we're looking at. And then we put our vegetable tan leather, which has secured the knife, in place. Then we're going to re-secure it with the rubber here. And then we're going to put the outsole on, which is pretty thin here. And then we'll put the heel on. And then you have your full boot knife sole. I'm liking it. Listen, I know what you're thinking. If this works out, are you going to offer this as an item, as a production item? And I'd say if it works out, heck yeah, we can do a limited run of these things. So I had to cut this slot into this. So I'm using this little punch here. Now I just got to trim these 2 pieces down, and we got our slot. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about everything. I used the Dremel to give me a little extra space because my dies weren't quite big enough. We got a little bit of a JB weld between this rubber and the aluminum. But like I was saying, if we were ever to do this in production, I would just make an aluminum piece that is this width and screw it into the directly into the knife as the switch. Stepped away from the outsole for a little bit. Here's the upper, all stitched. I didn't do the stitching myself, I had my team do it. But there's that leather liner, it's fully lined. And this right here is called a last. And the last is like the form of the boot. So these are going through the line pretty quick. And we're gonna be in very, very good shape here in a minute. It's more art than science making this thing form exactly the way you want it. All right, so now we just got to trim off all this leather we got to trim. Then we're going to fill this with cork. And then we can start putting that outsole on and attaching the knife boot outsole to this. Look at that, baby. Look at that welt. Let's go. All right, here it is with the welt, the Goodyear welt on the boot now. I had thought about embedding the knife inside here, but then I thought, I want that extra layer of cork. I want that comfort of the cork. I don't want to feel the knife in the front of my toe. So I think this cork, and then putting the knife on the outside in between the the layers of sole will be better. But next step, to put cork in. All right, he's gonna put that hot knife on there. That's what gives this so much comfort. All right, taking a little lunch break. We're only really 3 hours in. in 3 hours, I think I got it figured out, at least 90% figured out. I've got to let this JB weld. I took the JB weld and I built that little rubber tab to attach to the OTF knife. If we were ever to make these, what I would do is I would machine out probably an aluminum part and not use rubber. Of course, if it was flush, let's say the aluminum of the tab was flush with the bottom of the sole of the boot, you just have to press a little harder to open it, right? Because the rubber obviously isn't as dense as the aluminum. So my thoughts are, if we ever go in production, make this component out of aluminum and then be good to go. But so far so good. This afternoon I'm going to put everything together, finish stitching the boot, get everything adhered, and hopefully finish today. Let's see. Listen, it's always good to have a bunch of skilled craftsmen and craftswomen in our facility, because I totally screw this thing up if I was doing it myself. The knowledge has been passed on to them. They are the experts, so we're gonna let the experts do what they do. All right, soles just got primed and ready to go. Here's the boots. Here's the mid. So we're gonna have 2 layers of mid, like I said. The rubber mid, then the vegetable tan, which has the cutout for the knife. Then the outsole in 2 layers, which has a cutout, then the outsole, and we're gonna be good to go. We're just pressing on the midsole. Now the midsole is pressed on. The next step is that veg tan layer, and then we can put the knife in place. All right, we haven't put this on yet, the veg tan, but I just placed the knife where it's supposed to go. I want to see how flat it is. There's a little space there, but I think we'll be able to pull that welt back towards the toe to decrease the space. I hope so. If not, I would have to cut out this section and insert the knife into the cork to make it flat. But we're gonna try it this way first. So we're getting closer here. This is gonna snap in. Well, it might not snap in. All right, first major issue is I couldn't get the knife to lay flat in here. Everything got too compressed. And because of the curve of the toe, I'm gonna have to scrape out some cork underneath to get that knife to lay flat. So I had to cut the rubber out. I'm gonna scrape some of that cork out, and so it'll lay flat even though the boot is curved. The ball of the foot is not flat, and a knife is rigid and flat. So I had to cut away at the midsole and get that knife snug up against the cork. So I had to dig out some cork, but now it seems really smooth. I'm curious to see if the back of the handle of the knife, if I can feel it in my foot, in the ball of my foot when I'm walking, because ideally I don't want to even feel it. I want it to feel like a natural boot, and you can just, boom, get that knife out, put it back in, like no factor. But we will see. All right, after some modifications, I think we got it. Looks good. I got it fairly flat. Had to cut a bunch of cork and rubber out, but I think it's gonna work. So very close, moments away from putting the soles on, and we're gonna be in good shape here. All right, there's the final cavity that's gonna hold the knife. We're gonna smooth all this down, finish up the sole, and be done with it. All right, we still need a heel, but all in all, it's there. You can see everything worked out. You just got a little bit of a tab. I'm showing Mayo, our footwear developer, my development, and what do you think?
Amazing. Something different I haven't seen never. Only on movies.
Only movies. And now I'm gonna take this sole and I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it at an angle and try to place it in seamlessly. And then we'll glue everything together and hopefully finish it up. Very close. All right, there it is. It came together so nicely. I haven't put it on yet, but I think it's gonna work well. Very streamlined, and we're gonna see how that knife feels on the foot. When I walk, literally no ejection, and I can't even feel the knife in the boot. And now let's see. Look at that. Walking, boom, there it is. Back in. It's pretty legit. There it is. The boot knife. It's freaking awesome. So cool to wear. Yeah, I'm stoked on this thing. But now that I've got your attention, this is my new YouTube channel. And some of you know who I am. For those of you who don't, my name is Pete Roberts. I'm the founder and CEO of Origin. Origin is a really cool brand. It's a cool company that started in the woods behind my house, actually. In 2012, some friends and family and myself, we cut down a forest in the woods of Maine. And we built a timber frame factory with hands and daylight and some chainsaws and a little bit of grit and resolve. We found 2 old LL Bean sewing machines headed for the scrap pile. We stuck them in the factory. We started up a generator and we started sewing stuff. And well over a decade later, we have hundreds and hundreds of employees in our Maine factories and in our North Carolina factory. We make some cool stuff. And this is my personal YouTube channel where I can share more inside of what I'm doing in my life as a founder, as a CEO. And there'll be lessons and there'll be adventure and travel and whatever else I feel like doing, telling stories, talking about America, talking about the heritage and history of America, and making cool shit also. And one of the things I'm doing on this channel is I'm developing a new line of product for Origin, kind of a designer line, a little bit more upscale with some cooler materials, some old materials. And I'm gonna walk you through that. I'm gonna walk you through lots of different things. I'm a designer by trade, and I just play a CEO, even though sometimes it's difficult, and I just want to be here making cool shit. So this is my channel. Like, subscribe. Let's go.